Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to continue talking about jobs. So first, I want you to go to your student book page 42. Read the article and choose a piece of advice that you consider to be the best. And think about why you chose it. Pause the video while you work on this, please. Remember to write your ideas. Great, we're going to use this during our class. Now, I want you to please read these pieces of advice with me and choose the one you consider the most important. Work on your resume. An impressive resume is important. Give an example on how you achieved a goal. Explain how your work can save money. Always research the company before applying. In my case, I think that researching the company before applying is probably the most important, because then I will know what the company does and what kind of candidate they are looking for. What about you? Let's continue. Now, I want you to please read the pieces of advice again and identify the nouns. Let's pause the video, please. Okay, so you should have found resume twice. Example, goal, work, money, and company. Now, are these nouns countable or uncountable? And are they using a or an? Think about this. Pause the video again. Okay, so for the countable nouns, you should have found resume, resume again, example, goal, and company. Now for the uncountable nouns, you should have identified work and money. Now, where did I use a or an? If you notice, I used it here on the second resume, an impressive resume, an example, and a goal. So today we're going to be talking about nouns and when to use a or an, for example. Let's continue. So, if you remember, nouns are divided into two big categories. We have countable nouns that could be singular or plural, and we have uncountable nouns that do not have a plural form because it's impossible to count them, right? Look at the two examples for countable. There is a pencil. There are two pencils. If you notice here, the only thing I did to make this noun a plural was to add an S, right? However, with uncountable, I cannot do that. I can say, I love music, for example. There are 2 pounds of sugar here. Here, because I wanted to be able to count sugar, I used a measurement. In this case, pounds, that I can count. But sugar, 1 sugar, 2 sugars, it's not possible to do. Let's continue. So, for countable nouns, what we usually do to make them plural is to add an S. There are a few exceptions, of course. But if you have a singular noun, you're going to say there is a if you have a consonant sound, or there is an if you have a vowel sound. If you have plural nouns, then you can say there are some, there are not any, there are a lot of, there are a few, or there are many. Of course, you could also say a number. For uncountable nouns, then you cannot use there are. You should say there is. There is a little, there is a bit of, there is a piece of, there is much, there is some, there is not any, there is a lot of. And once again, if you want to count here, then you need a unit of measurement. Like there are 2 pounds of sugar. So I'm counting the pounds here, not precisely the sugar. So let's continue. Let's go to student book page 43, exercise B. Here, we need to complete the questions using the correct form of the nouns in parentheses. Sometimes there is more than one answer. For example, do you have a job? How hard is it to find? That pays well. Now, what should we use here? Work or works? Work, right? Because work is an uncountable noun, so we cannot add an S to it. Let's do next one. Has anyone given you advice on your resume? Once again, advice is something I cannot count. Did you use the information? Now pause the video while you work on the rest, please. Okay, let's go ahead and check. Do you need permission from your school before you take a job? What do you need to know about a company before you submit an application? Where can a graduate go to get help with career planning? What skills do you need to start your own business? Where can you get training? Did you get the same? Great. Now, let's continue. Now let's work on exercise C. Here, what we need to do is to choose the correct form of the noun. And then we need to use the correct form of verb to be. Let's do the first two together. The information or informations in the article, interesting. Now, can I say informations? No, right? Information is an uncountable noun, so I should use information. The information in the article is interesting. Now pause the video and work on the rest, then come back to check. Okay? Especially now when work is hard to find. Any help you can get is useful. The point about getting feedback on your resume is or was good advice. My research on employers is still at an early stage. I want to work in developing software and I still need training, though my knowledge is good. Did you have the same? Great. So now let's continue practicing. Go to your workbook page 27, exercise A. Here we need to complete the conversation with the correct form of the nouns given. Please add a or an or make the noun plural if necessary. Hey, Jack, could you help me with something, please? I need advice. If you remember, advice is a noun that is uncountable, so I do not need to change it. Sure, what's up? Well, I'm putting together an application for a job as a personal assistant, and I need feedback on my resume. I wonder if you could give me some comments. Now pause the video and work on the rest, please. We're going to check in class. Okay, great. And also work on exercise B. Here you need to complete the sentences with the correct simple form of the verbs in parentheses. Let's do the first two. Today, more and more highly qualified candidates apply for low-level jobs. In this case, we're using apply because if you notice, candidates is plural. Let's take a look at number 2. A lot of work experience is not always necessary to land your dream job. In this case, we're using isn't because experience is something I cannot account. Now work on the rest, please pause your video. Great, we're going to check in class. I will see you then. Bye-bye!